with terrifying haste, almost straight away, he began to plan how to kill her. The evil lieutenant played on the general's inexperience. The general, his name was Othello, was a black man, a Moor, in a sophisticated society where people of that race were uncommon, and the very words employed by Iago, that was the name of the villainous subordinate, carried the clear suggestion that sex and marriage between the middle-aged Moor and the young Venetian girl were abhorrent, bestial almost. "An old black ram is topping your white ewe," was an example of the sort of remarks that Iago yelled out to the girl's horrified father, as well as, "You'll have your daughter covered with a Barbary horse, and your daughter and the Moor are now making the beast with two backs." As the play continued towards its tragic and inevitable outcome, it seemed to me that the whole powerful work was throbbing and thrumming with sex. The actors portraying Othello and the young bride Desdemona could, at the start, hardly keep their hands off each other, and Desdemona's first dramatic entrance was at a limping pace, the clear innuendo being that she was suffering from an excess of passionate love-making in the bridal bed. She, although of course it was really he, was slim and straight, not over tall, with a long neck and sloping shoulders, and her hair was a dark mane. Her eyes were startling, light hazel in colour. They seemed to shine with gold when the light caught them, and I had the impression of huge and densely black pupils, as reflective as mirrors. Her bridegroom was a big, tall, heavy, handsome man, dark-complexioned, and with black hair turning grey, and it was all too easy to imagine that his ardour would be uncomfortable for his pale, frail bride. As if the visual impressions were not enough, there was the language. "Oh, blood, blood, blood," the general moaned at one point, and later, "Yet I'll not shed her blood." And there was the business of the handkerchief, a gift from Othello to Desdemona, and made of some pale fabric dotted with red, spotted with strawberries, according to the dialogue, although when this was accompanied by talk of a bed lust-stained, with lust's blood spotted, and the bride's mention of her wedding sheets, it was all too easy to see that the handkerchief represented the blood-stained bedding of fervid wedding-night consummation, and a virgin's ruptured hymen. And then the handkerchief ended up in the possession of a man observed wiping his beard with it, and everyone in the audience knew what was meant in a play when beards were mentioned. Trying to distract my mind from these arousing images, I wondered if this had been the playwright's intention, or whether this interpretation was the idea of whoever was putting on this particular production. The trouble was, of course, that I'd had sex on my mind anyway, for I was standing next to Judith, pressed against her by the crush of people, and I could feel the warmth of her beautiful body through our clothes. Less than a month ago, in the course of an enquiry of mine, she had been put in danger and injured. Before we knew whether or not this injury was serious, thankfully it hadn't been, she had rushed into my arms, and I had held her tightly against me, resting my cheek on the top of her head and smelling the sweet scent of her glossy black hair. I had already been fiercely attracted to her before that precious moment, and now the thought of her was with me all the time. We had spent not a little of our rare leisure hours together, but always in company. I had yet to be alone with her, and did not know if I yearned for or dreaded it. But there were other aspects of this play that were even more disturbing than its preoccupation with sex. As it drove on inexorably towards what was surely going to be a tragic final scene, I realized uneasily that it was a work full of obfuscation, of hinted-at secrets, of unspoken dangers, of magic. I kept sensing that I was being presented with one version of the truth, whereas in fact what was really going on was deeply hidden under increasingly impenetrable layers. The actors seemed intent on confusing us, on fooling us even, and much use was made of a rather